Okay, so thanks very much everyone for joining. Looks as if we've got a pretty good sort of turnout today. I'm sure there'll be a few extra people sort of joining as we go. And saying delighted today that my colleague Charisse is joining us. Charisse probably a sort of familiar face to many of you from the property industry. And Charisse is going to talk us through a lot of the successful social media strategies that we have been working on with agents. And one of the questions that we are quite often asked is, A, is social media the right thing to do? And B, should I be doing paid ads or should I be doing organic ads? Now, quick fact, which I was surprised when I looked this up when we were preparing for the webinar, is that Facebook launched in February 2004, which made me feel a little bit older than I already do. And Instagram, which you think of as a fairly new platform, launched in October 2010. So both really sort of mature platforms. And Ofcom stats are that 93% of the UK adult population can be reached through Facebook and through Messenger. Yeah, if you're thinking, is it the right thing to do? Well, absolutely, your clients are there. Yeah, you should be there too. Yeah. So I'll welcome along Charisse, and as I say, Charisse will take us through the slides and also a little interesting poll to get us started. So Charisse, over to you.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, let me share and get the slides up for you so you can all see the poll. So yeah, what we want to do is just find out what your biggest challenge is for social media. So is it that you're like not getting in front of enough local sellers or landlords? It might be that you're finding content ideas that are just, you know, not able to find content ideas, and it's all just maybe property listings. Maybe you're using paid or organic social media, but they don't really feel connected in any way, or maybe the main issue might just simply just be down to time or resource. Just choose the option that feels closest to your situation right now. There aren't any wrong answers here. And then what we want to also be looking at is, does that decision change later on? So at the end of the webinar, maybe your focus has changed to something different. So it'd be good to understand that as well.
Okay. And for those of you who don't live on Zoom calls and Teams calls all day as me and Charisse does, at the very top, there should be a little section called chat. So if you click into chat, there's a box there and you've got those 4 voting options. So reach, content, joined up strategy, and time and resource. And we've had a couple of votes in already. Just a case of what you think is possibly sort of the biggest challenge, because you've got 3 now for time and resource, Charisse. So yeah, joined up strategy, and we've also got a couple for reach, and I'm sure you'll touch on the reach part, and a lot of friends I have are still in agency spend all day doing these posts and they never seem to get past the team in the office clicking and liking them, and my mum and my friend. So we'll cover all of those off. So yeah, the 2 most popular ones are reach and time and resource at the moment, but I'll keep an eye on that and see where we go.
I mean, that's kind of what I expected it to be anyway, because I think paid ads are one of those areas where not a lot of people know too much about it, but then you know, everyone knows that agents are time poor. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they were the two main answers there. So obviously, to get into this then, to look at what are those 2 areas, as we mentioned, we've got paid social media advertising, and we've got the organic content, which is the page posts on your social media pages. So the paid advertising helps you reach beyond the people who are already following your page. So the size of like your existing audience it doesn't really matter. You could have like a couple of followers, you might have thousands of followers. It doesn't matter. Paid social media doesn't matter. Doesn't care about how many followers you have. It looks at how many people it can get you in front of that are relevant to what you're advertising. You can choose the area within reason, so Meta does have some rules around that. based on different types of ads. You can set a budget, you can shape the message, you can give people a reason to respond. And then organic works slightly differently. So that's as I said, the page content or the posts that you post on your page. People visiting your page can then see the team, the advice, the reviews, like the properties that you're listing, and the results obviously that you're getting. So paid can create that first opportunity, and then organic can help that person decide what they think about you. Then it's also like thinking about the information you capture as well, so the follow-up, and then the timing, so their timing can also affect what happens next, what the next step is. So paid and organic have different jobs that they both do, but they both support the same journey essentially to generate additional revenue for you guys. So it's not really a case of choosing one over the other. It's about knowing what each one of these do, how they work together. And that is becoming more important because the way people discover and judge an agency has now changed. So Steve, like you touched on this in terms of the reach that social media is having. So in May 2025, Facebook and Messenger reached 93% of UK adults who use the internet, huge number. And that shows how common these platforms still are. They're a part of like our everyday life, online life for a huge number of people. And then Facebook's potential advertising reach as well was also equal to nearly 56% of the UK population at the end of 2025. So that doesn't mean that obviously all of those people are looking for an agent. It just means that the audience is there, and people are already spending time on the platform before moving like becomes a priority for them. And we can see that the property market is still active as well. So there were just under 100,000 provisional residential transactions in May 2026, and that figure only counts completed transactions. It doesn't include everybody who's looking or currently researching and considering their options, or like waiting for the right time. So someone might notice a market update today, they might see a sold story next month, they might read maybe one of your reviews later in the year, and then their circumstances change and then they need an agent. So by that stage, your name may already feel familiar to them, and it's that familiarity that helps you win, those instructions. So there's usually a period when people are thinking and researching and deciding like who they trust.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Charisse, because I don't think many people are waking up today having not thought about moving house yesterday and are suddenly talking to an agent. Most of them will have been browsing around, seeing what pops up on social media, maybe been on the portals or on a few agents' websites. So yeah, building that familiarity, and social media is such a great platform to do it on. Phones are in everyone's hands or pockets pretty much from the moment they wake up to when they go to bed.
Yeah, and I think everyone could, if you think about who who isn't on social media, that will be a smaller portion compared to the people who are on social media.
And it's quite a broad demographic, isn't it? I mean, I've got parents in their 80s who are active on social media, both Instagram and Facebook, and they're quite often sending me stuff. Have you seen, there's a house around the corner from you that's up for sale, it's worth a lot of money. You're like, okay, yeah, great, thanks. So even they're there sort of keeping an eye on what's happening.
And God help when they found the videos, like get bombarded with videos.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my dad to do a Facebook reel, Charisse, on the property market. Then I know that it's really got going with the 80-year-olds.
Well, I mean, obviously that just proves like the audience is there, so they are online. But then there's also, it means like there is more competition now for attention. So like the average agent started 2026 with 32 homes for sale, and that was the highest level in 8 years. For buyers, that just means that there's more choice. For sellers, it means that their property has to work a lot harder to stand out. And the average asking price of newly listed homes also fell by 0.6% in June, which that was the biggest June fall in 14 years. So every local market will be obviously slightly different, but it does show that sellers may be facing more pressure around pricing and competition. And they may want to know how you're going to attract attention and keep their property visible. So most sellers already expect the portals and like professional photography. I think they're just a given now. It's like, what else are you going to do? How are you going to create interest? How will you show that property has been actively marketed? How will you help it stand out from everything else that they can see online?
I think, as you were saying with the videos as well, the amount of times you see sort of a snippet as a sort of pre-launch or a video walkthrough, and the engagement on those must be huge compared to just a sort of standard post.
Yeah, and I'm going to come on to that as well, which is about keeping the viewing retention, so that helps get those posts out there. So what I want to do is thinking about like organic social media and the posts and things. Why is it important? So obviously it's you want to get in front of people, you want eyes on your brand, but why else is it important, and what's the difference, and how do people view it? Like, what are they seeing when they come into or go onto your social media page? So I've got side by side where we can just have a look at, now these are two fictional agencies, they're not real. These are made up posts and things. So if there is anybody called Goodrich Estates or Harbour Light Estates, it by chance. I did not know that they existed. But Steve, like if you were looking at these,
yes,
and you were on these two social media pages, like which one of these would feel more comfortable? Which one would you feel more comfortable inviting into your home for a market appraisal?
Well, I think I'm going to click on Meet James and see what James has got to say, and I'm probably interested in the local market update. And I was thinking, when I was an agent for years, and I took it for granted at the time that you were going into somebody's house, they'd probably never met you before.
Yeah.
And then they were probably going to give you permission to go in and out of that house with a set of keys whenever you wanted, which, to be honest, now I think the thought of doing that for my property, you just think, I think quite seriously before I was letting somebody do that. So building up that sort of relationship, and as you can see there with James on screen, yeah, you think he seems quite a nice chap. He'd probably do a good job at selling my house.
Yeah, I mean, like most people probably choose Goodrich Estates in the green, right? It doesn't prove that Goodrich Estates is the better agency, and like Harbour Light in the blue, they might provide an excellent service. Like, the difference is what each profile allows us to see, from the outside looking in. And Goodrich shows the people behind the agency or the brand. It shares useful advice. It includes reviews, local knowledge, examples of like results that they've had. And then Harbour Light is mainly showing property listings. And there's a couple of price reductions and things in there. But there's nothing wrong with promoting listings. It's all part of the job, but listings on their own give future potential clients like less information about what the experience might be like with you. So Goodrich Estates answers more of those questions people might already have. So do they understand the local market? Have they helped people like me before? Who am I going to be dealing with? Do other clients recommend them? So that's the bit that's important.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is so much of a people business, isn't it? And if all you're showing is properties, well, you're not promoting the people, and you're not promoting your business, really, are you?
So no, yeah. And the thing is, these things, it sounds really complicated, but you can break it down into four areas, really. So the four areas to think about is proof, education, people, and reputation. So they're the things that we want to be sort of thinking about when we're creating social media content for the pages. So proof shows like what you've achieved. Education shows people like what you know. Are you the experts in your area? The people content introduces the team behind the business. And then the reputation part shows like what clients and the local community think about you. So you don't need to cover all four every week. So it's not like, you have to continuously create these posts, all four posts every week and repeat and repeat. it's the aim is to create like a balance over time. So your profile, when they're looking at it, they are able to get a real good sense of what you're offering and who you are, and also like what you've achieved. And I'll go through some examples as well for like what you could be posting for each of these. If we start with proof posts, so like the strongest proof post content goes a little bit further than just like putting a sold or let stamp over the top of a property photo. So if you can, it's better to explain the story behind the results. So did that property struggle to attract interest? Maybe the marketing was changed, maybe there was a hurdle that you overcome. Like that's the detail that help people understand like the work behind that outcome. And then the same applies like when you talk about your marketing strategy. So show the team, you know, what the team did, what happened afterwards. Did they create a new video that generated more interest? Did you change the launch strategy to attract more viewings? Like what happened? And then like in terms of landlord results, that can work in the same way. You might explain like how the team solved a management issue, for example, and then street success gives you like another angle to it. If you recently sold or let several properties in the same area, bring all of those results together in one place. So a good proof post answers 3 questions basically. So like what's happening or what was happening, what did the agency do? So what did you do to get that success, and then what was the result off the back of it?
And I suppose, Charisse, they're all things that are going on in your office all the time, aren't there? So there should be lots of good ideas and things to talk about. And I think as well, there are some really, really good agents, and there's some sort of average or poor agents out there. So some of the things that the good agents take for granted, other people haven't even thought about doing. So talking about launch strategies and redoing the marketing and shooting a new video, there's probably some people out there who have no launch strategy other than I've clicked live in the CRM and it's pinged off a few places and I've sent out a couple of text messages.
Yeah. But I mean, it's all things that like you say, you are doing on a daily basis. Just people forget to put these things on social media, and like the obviously I mentioned, you know, there's 4 pillars to this. The second would be education posts. Like tell people why you are the experts. Like give them the information they need that they might not be getting from other people. So another post or another example would be like pricing. So pricing is a really good example. You're not telling every seller to like reduce their price or anything like that. You're just helping them understand why they're getting why getting the right price actually at the start matters to them. And that includes also explaining like why the highest suggested price isn't always the best advice, especially when there's like nothing to maybe support it, back it up. And it gives people useful context as well, like without making the post a sales pitch. So you're not constantly selling to them. It's something that they're able to take away and understand and get information from. And it's also good to help tell them about like what's happening locally in the market, because obviously that's going to be relevant to the audience that you're trying to target.
Yeah, and I think a lot of time when you look at prices, it's not always the price that you get for your properties. It's that sort of differential in between the two. If you can still afford the differential, even if you got slightly less than you were hoping for, if you found the house that you want and it's still affordable, that's the important thing. So trying to educate people as to where trends are going, maybe you need to be a bit more flexible, or actually prices are going up quickly. So take action now before some properties get out of reach.
Yeah, I mean, so I had a conversation with an agent like this. I remember it, but it was like years ago, and they were saying about when they bought their home, that their dream home was they came on the market for 20 grand more. They thought they weren't going to, spend any more than they did on the property that they bought.
Yeah.
But he was like, actually, in hindsight, that was our dream property. For the sake of 20 grand, I think it was, you know, they would have paid 20 grand more for that dream property. So, you know, what the price is relevant to the person who's buying it, I guess. So then the next sort of post that you want to be thinking about, like I mentioned, was people posts. So again, it is looking at the people behind the brand. So as Steve, as you mentioned, when he points out on the social media examples, the 2-page posts, you focus straight away on the one that was looking at James. Or it's because I guess choosing an agent is quite personal. You're inviting somebody into your home and trusting them with your most valuable asset. And so people content should help you feel or help them feel familiar, or help you feel familiar, sorry, to them, and be more sort of approachable, and it humanizes you as well. Like that meet the valuer post is a simple place to start, because if you go beyond a photograph and a job title, and maybe you might do like a video, for example, you can be explaining the areas that they know, share their experience, tell people what they expect during the market appraisal. You might, maybe if you're like doing an interview style, you could be asking them questions about like what are sellers asking about most often at the moment, what's challenging in the market, or what's changing in your local market, what advice would they give somebody maybe preparing to move. So there's lots of things that you can do around those types of posts, and then also celebrate your wins. You know, your team wins. You know, it could be somebody has just recently got a new qualification. Maybe they've been promoted. Maybe it's an anniversary, or I don't know. Maybe somebody's done some, you know, within the team for charity, like you got Race for Life, etc. Like all of these posts are really, really good, and as I say, it humanizes you as well. And you can be looking at maybe somebody's received some really good customer feedback. Share that. That is 2 posts in one. You get team celebration, and also you're sharing your successes at the same time. But they're really good ones to start off with, and then you could also maybe do things like behind the scenes. So like what happens when you are delivering these results? Like what did it take for you guys to prepare a property launch, or get something ready for a market appraisal, or like supporting a client for a difficult stage of the move, or whatever it might be. And it doesn't even have to feel like heavily produced. It can just be like a natural video that's taken on the phone, you know, and in fact, natural content, you know, that actually does work better sometimes than more sort of heavily produced content. So they're all really good examples to create posts for.
Brilliant. That's good. That gives you a nice bit of variation as well, doesn't it? So it isn't just all property.
Yeah, it breaks it all up. And then this again, you know, it doesn't have to be property related, but reputation posts that just reinforce why people should trust you. So it's talking about things like client reviews you had, but the strongest review post to do isn't just put in 5 stars on a graphic like I've done in my slide, but sharing the story behind it. So actually telling people you know, what happened. So pull bits of the story out to make it sort of more useful for them. So did the client value the communication that you delivered? Did they feel supported? Did the team give honest advice? Like those are key things that maybe someone is experiencing at the moment or not experiencing at the moment, that they can then obviously think, actually that agent is someone I want to work with. And the feedback just feels a bit more real as well. And then you can be doing like customer stories. So explain like what the client needed, what challenge they faced, again, like how the team helped, what happened in the end, and then things about the community. So like your community presence, and then also how the community recognizes you. So is there any awards that you've won? These are all really, really good things to share with people. And then once you've got all of those like all 4 areas working together, the next challenge is staying consistent with it. So without making social media feel like a full-time job, although I know some of you probably on the webinar, that is your full-time job. If it's not, you don't want it to feel like it's your full-time job, because obviously there's other areas within the business that you're working on. So
I think as well, Sharice, what you were saying about that consistency, that the people who follow you, it's great if you are posting something every few days or at least once a week, rather than there's a blizzard of activity for 3 or 4 weeks and then nothing for the next couple of months.
Yeah, and it looks weird as well. Like when somebody lands on the page, and or especially like if you have been active, and then maybe because you had somebody who was doing it, and then they've left the business, and then you've had nobody since, so nothing's been done, and maybe it's been a year since any activities happened. When somebody lands on your page, they're seeing that the posts haven't happened for a year or however many months. That's something that they're able to see, and it's something that do you want them to see that you're not an active business? But once you've got those 4 content areas sorted, the planning becomes really easy, really. So you're not sitting down every morning and sort of wondering, what do I need to post? We need to think of this example. This is, you're not having to do any of that. It's literally, I mean, I've put together this is a 4-week plan, but this isn't something you have to, is set in stone, but it just gives you an example. You could be doing, say, for example, like 2 posts a week. Some of you might do more, some of you might do less, but it's whatever feels right for you and your team to maintain it consistently without that quality dropping. So that's the key thing, is making sure that it is consistent, but it's at a level that you can keep up with and the quality is still there. So you might start off with a proof post and then a people post, and then like the following week you could share education and reputation, but that keep basically rotating those 4 areas. And like I said, I don't mean follow this calendar forever, but it's just a simple plan to begin with if you're not doing it. And it just also makes it easier, makes the creating the content easier for you in advance. So like, for example, you could collect reviews during the week. You can ask the team for photographs or short videos. You can prepare like, I don't know, several posts at a time. You can reuse the same topic but just change it in different ways. So like a market update could become a video, it might be then a graphic, and then maybe it might be a question for the audience to gauge or to generate engagement. So but consistency is the thing that matters more than trying to make every single post perfect. And then the key thing as well is obviously once you're starting to do consistent posts, it's about how do you get more eyes on it. So there isn't really one single formula that generates reach. It's a combination of different things, and it depends on different posts. But for example, Instagram looks at different signals depending on whether somebody's viewing the feed, stories, or like your reels. So for a video, watch time and retention matters. So if people leave within the first few seconds, the video is less likely to travel because Meta sees it as it's not being engaged with. So it's important to get the useful part in there quickly. So you could be opening with things like, has your property had viewings but no offers? Or a post might be, London landlords, here are 3 things you should review this month. But that gives somebody a reason to keep watching that video. And then obviously you've got shares and you've got sends. They're also important because they take the content beyond the people who are already following you, so it gets in front of their contacts within their account as well. So think about what somebody might send to your partner or your friend, but useful content travels.
I think that's a really good one, Sharice, because some friends of ours are moving house. So the agent there has done a video, done a launch post. So they tagged the friends in. They then shared it, and then everyone wants them to move house because they've seen their bit like you were saying earlier, they've seen their sort of dream home. So probably got 20 or 30 friends who are liking and sharing that post, which is probably giving it more reach than if it was just the agent's followers themselves. And it doesn't cost anybody anything to do that, does it? And it's like, yeah, it's interesting, or a bit of legislation update that you want, you would send that to other people. If you're a landlord, you've probably got other friends who are landlords, go, oh, this is interesting, talking about something I didn't know about, and you share it on.
Yeah, and if you think like if a post is getting a couple of shares or a couple of comments, then you're getting in front of, another few a small handful of people. That this is where, and it leads us on to quite well onto the paid social media. So how does that work? So paid social media gets you in front of, and it could be thousands of people every month, depending on your ad spend. But that's what it's designed to do, is to get you that reach that you may not be getting with your organic posts. So it lets you put like a relevant message in front of local people who don't already follow your page. And then many future sellers and landlords won't be following an estate agent yet, so they might not be ready to do anything, but they might not be like actively searching for one on, say, Google, for example, but they may still respond to something that feels useful to them when they see it on social media. So the second benefit of paid social media is the control that you have. For example, you can control, as I mentioned, Meta has some rules around specific ad types, but you can control an area that ad is seen in within a certain radius. You can set the budget, so you can choose how many people it's been likely to be shared in front of, and how long you stay in front of them for. You can change the creative that they see, so the imagery or the videos. You can test different offers that you're putting in front of them. So like when we do this for clients, when we're doing paid advertising for them, we do things like we promote like an instant valuation tool, or we share a landlord compliance guide or scorecard, for example. Or if somebody is looking for more buyer leads, we might advertise properties on a carousel. That it allows you to pick what you're getting or putting out in front of them, and obviously, like I say, the area that of focus. And then the third benefit is identifying new opportunities. So when somebody inquires, you gain visibility of a person you might not have even known about before. Some of those will be ready to do something right now, and then others will be much earlier in their process. And the important thing is that you know that opportunity now exists. So you've got their contact details. And then the next step is making sure that the campaign is planned properly. Do you have everything in place?
I was just about to say, Cherise, where do you go to get your data and set all of that up? Because that sounds simple, but if you've not done it before, it could be quite a challenge.
What do you mean? So the data that...
So I know that we use a lot of like the portal inquiries and data from website visitors to get custom audiences to build.
Yeah, so I mean, what you want to be looking at is what leads are you getting in at the moment? What leads do you need? So is there a particular lead type that you need more of? And then it's then looking at what campaigns can be created to generate those leads that you need more of. And like this sort of guide here, so there's 4 steps into where how you plan or how you create a campaign. So like before you build the advert, you want to look at, as I mentioned, like what is your goal? So are you looking for more vendor leads? Are you looking for more landlord leads? Are you looking for buyers? But choose one clear goal type to begin with if you haven't done ads before, and go from there. But then you want to then look at the hooks. So like what reason are you giving people to hand over their data? So what are you providing them in return? Which is where data capture tools like instant valuation tools or forms that capture that information, so that data for that particular person, they're so important. If you link it back to, say, like your homepage on your website, how do you know that those people who have seen that ad, and maybe they might inquire later on? How do you know that they've then come back or seen you on your social media? So it's really important to have those data capture tools in place so that you can track those leads that you've had in. And then the next step is to look at your budget. So there isn't like a particular amount for every agency to set, or a particular area. So it's just about looking at what's sensible for you guys, and for your budget. There is obviously a minimum amount that you would want to spend, which we tend to advise, like £5 a day for a campaign is a minimum amount that you'd want to spend. Obviously, if you want to get in front of more people and for longer, you want to increase that budget. But it's about choosing a sensible test budget to begin with, and give the campaign enough time to gather useful information, and then get past Meta's learning phase that they have in place, where they're trying to work out who are the right people to get in front of. And then the next step is measuring that data. So look at like the responses that you've had in, and the information that you've captured, and then track what happens next. So like, did the team make contact? Obviously, the quicker the better. Did the conversation uncover a current or a future opportunity, for example? Did it later become a market appraisal or an instruction? They're the things that give you the information to make more informed decisions about your future marketing budget. And I have got some examples of what those campaigns might look like. So I've used Goodrich Estates again as an example, but it might be that if you are creating a landlord campaign, as I say, it could lead with something useful like a compliance guide, checklist, or a scorecard, and it just gives that landlord a genuine reason to respond, even if they're not looking to change agents straight away. And it can then obviously open up a wider conversation for your team. And then the second example is a vendor campaign. So we've linked that to an instant valuation tool. And some sellers will be ready to speak to an agent right now, and you might get the valuation booked in straight away. But others might be simply just checking the value because they're thinking about moving at some point, and are considering that later. But either way, you now know there's a possible opportunity there, and when they're looking to move. And then my third example on here is a buyer campaign. So not just taking one property, but taking multiple properties and putting them on a carousel ad. So you're promoting these properties, a group of homes, or it could even be like a new development, to a wider audience then, that then creates those buyer inquiries. But the opportunity might actually be bigger than that. So than just a buyer lead. So some of those buyers, if you've got the tools behind it, so the data capture tools behind it, like the forms, it could be identifying if they have a property of their own to sell that maybe is not yet on the market. It might identify things like, do they need mortgage advice? So one property inquiry can uncover several different opportunities if you've got the right data capture behind it. And then obviously these adverts are not just saying, we're a great local agent, you should use us today. It's actually giving them something useful, relevant, or maybe even timely to then hand over their data.
And I think that's right, Shreese. It is useful information. You think about landlords who probably still don't know about all the new legislation that came in earlier this year because their current agent hasn't told them, or their current tenant hasn't given notice, or they're self-managing, which is an awful lot of people there. So yeah, having some landlord campaigns works really well. And it's all quite easy to interact with, isn't it? That you're just sort of browsing through, seeing information, doing it at your own pace, at your own time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're scrolling on your newsfeed in the evening and something pops up in front of you that showcases something that you've been thinking about, maybe even if it was just in the back of your mind, a quick thought, I might put my property on the market. And then suddenly you see something that talks about maybe getting an instant valuation for your home, like naturally they're going to click into it. But you've got to make sure that the visuals and things, or the information that you put in front of them, is something where they're able to understand what that advert is suggesting or what you are advertising in the first couple of seconds. Otherwise, they'll just scroll through. So I have seen adverts, that pop up for me, and they're so busy. You look at them and you think, actually, what are they even saying? You've got to really read it to be able to understand what they're actually selling. But if you make it might look boring, but if the visuals are very, very basic and straight to the point, you're going to get more reach on. You're going to get more interaction from them. But once obviously they have inquired, so once they filled that data capture tool in, the next step is what happens next. So the qualification side of things is really, really important. Lets the team decide who is the first person that they contact. Like if you're coming in and you've got I don't know, let's say you've got 20 leads in that have come in from social media. Like social media will create high volume responses from the ads. So if you've got loads of leads that come in, what ones do your team spend the most time on to get the most out of them? So having that qualification there, or that qualification process, is something that will help them to identify which ones they do need to spend their time on. So like when we're working with our clients, we'll set them up with automated lead response emails that go out, and it will then also ask qualifying questions. So identifying things like, do they need mortgage advice? Why are they looking to move? For landlords, for example, it could be like, how many properties do they have in their portfolio? Do they have an agent that's managing their property at the moment? Does it have a tenant inside it? So these are all really important questions. It means that when the team are picking up those leads, they already know the answers to them. They can have better conversations with those people.
That's a really, really, really good point, Charisse, because as you say, you sometimes get so many leads, you don't know where to start. And I think one of the questions is, when's a good time to call? If somebody wants to call in the afternoon, there's no point in you being really keen and ringing them at 9:05 when they're busy doing something else.
Yeah, and also as well, like, you don't want to be, so somebody, if they're not looking to move until, I don't know, let's say they're looking to move in 12 months, are they really going to look at or wanting you to call to get the evaluation booked in? Probably not. So the ones that are looking to move ASAP in the next 3 months, maybe even 6 months, they're the ones that the team should be spending the time on to get those market appraisals booked in. The other ones could maybe go back into like your CRM, nurture them to the point where they are then ready. So what I've done is I've put together a 30-day plan just to help, if anybody needs it. So like week 1 would be about your goals, your tracking, and the ownership. So choose a type of opportunity you want to create with a paid ad. So that might be a vendor market appraisal inquiry. It might be landlords, buyers, mortgage referrals, whatever you need. And then agree how those inquiries will be recorded, and what tools do you have in place to do that. So decide again, like, what qualification questions you want to ask. Do you have the tools in place to be able to ask those questions and automate it? And then also make sure that the original campaign source stays attached to the lead as well and doesn't get updated later on down the line. So make sure that your social media budget gets the credit if the original inquiry comes from social media. So then you want to look at who's responsible for the first response and the ongoing follow-up, and how will that be tracked and kept up to date to make sure nothing's forgotten or missed, and that leads are getting an initial response straight away. And then that way everybody knows like what should happen before the campaign even starts. Week 2, you want to be looking at the organic content. So choose 2 different content areas, like the 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier, and publish 2 useful posts. So you might want to share a recent result, introduce a team member behind it, or you could maybe publish like a local update and follow it up with like a client story. But the goal is to create a more balanced profile and see which topics people respond to. And then week 3 is where you test the paid campaign. So keep the clear goal. use an offer that gives somebody a genuine reason to respond, and set a sensible test budget, and then test that inquiry form as well. Check the automated response if you've got one, and then make sure that the team know where the information will appear and what they're expected to do with it. So how are you getting those leads in? Do you have a tool in place to capture the leads? Is it in your inbox? What's happening there? How do you differentiate between portal leads and social media leads? And then week 4 is about reviewing what happened. So how many people responded to it? What information did they share? What were their likely timescales? Which people might be showing stronger intent? Did the questionnaire uncover like additional opportunities maybe? And then was the team able to make contact with them? So you won't know like the final return on your investment after 30 days. It's not going to happen, but you'll start seeing you'll start understanding what you're likely to get from it. So how many inquiries you've had off the back of it, how many good conversations you've had, how many other opportunities it's identified. So that can help. And then also what you want to be looking at is there any changes that need to be made? So once you've gone through all of this and reviewed things, is there any improvements that you can make? So you want to make maybe like 1 or 2 improvements. Don't change everything all at once. Just make 1 or 2 improvements, and then look to see whether things have actually improved then.
I mean, that is the great thing with the amount of tracking that's out there now, isn't it, Sharice? That you're not in that, I know half of my marketing works, I just don't know which half. With this, you can actually get an idea of, I've run ads, I can see the response, I've updated the landing page, or I've updated the content, and that's either better or worse. So it's really sort of clever system.
Yeah, I think obviously that side of things depends on the tools that you've got behind it. If you've got your social media ads, inquiries feeding back through to your inbox, it's going to be quite hard for you to be able to see, right, these are the leads that we've had in off the back of social media. These are all of the ones that we've had in from the portals. And then on the social media leads, looking at which of the campaigns have actually produced the leads, because if you are running multiple campaigns, maybe one of the campaigns is performing better than the other. So having the right tools in place will help you understand what you're going to do later on or in the future with your marketing budget. Do you keep it as it is? Do you put it in other places? Do you reduce packages? Do you increase? What happens? It just gives you more informed information, for you to be able to make those decisions. So I've kind of touched on this slide a bit, but the first win is obviously identifying somebody that you guys didn't know about before. So that's a big win, because you've already got their data, and you can then obviously direct market to them, which you didn't have the access to be able to do prior to that. Then the qualification data helps you decide what should happen next. So the reporting then shows what opportunity became like over time, and it might take 6, 9, 12 months, maybe even longer, but for you to be instructed on something. But it's important to be able to track it back to its original source, so you know where to spend, like I say, your marketing budget. And then that's also how you avoid wasting money. If you're not getting leads in from a particular area, why spend the money there? So this will help you understand like where you should be spending the money, what's going to generate the best return for you. And then finally, if obviously anybody does want to have a review on things, or for us to have a look at what you're doing at the moment, is there anything that you can possibly improve on? Is there anything that needs changing? Is there anything that you need to outsource? We can obviously have a look at that for you. So if there is something that you would like us to review, let us know. We have got a QR code that we are going to put up for you shortly, and that will allow you to be able to request some time with us and have like a one-on-one session.
I think we've had a couple of questions as well, Sharice, that have come in through one through the chat and one that was sent to me texted while you were presenting. So obviously
Okay.
something I know. So I'll ask you the first one, which came in from Carly at Weber's. She said, "Do we have any stats?" Looking back at your example earlier of Goodrich style estate, who is doing the mixture of market updates, meet the valuer, and properties. Have we got any examples of how much that improves your results as opposed to just being property only? I don't know if we've got anybody who had any stats and they said, well, when I was just doing auto posts from my CRM and then I came to you.
I don't have any stats on it like right now. I mean, it's something we can take away and see what stats we do have on that, and then we can obviously come back to you on it.
Yeah.
So it might be one where we can book in with you separately, and go through what we found.
That'd be a good choice. Yeah, I suppose people come to us because they're saying, well, I'm just posting properties and that's not working. But yeah, that we'll try and get you a stat, Carly. And the other question I was sent was somebody saying, I've tried doing boosted posts in the past. How does that differ to doing targeted ads?
Boosting's different because you're taking a post that you've done and putting some ad spend behind it. You can't put any data capture tools behind that or anything. So creating an actual campaign, a paid ad sponsored campaign, you can put those data capture tools behind it so that you can then go, right, I've had this number of inquiries off the back of that campaign. Whereas boosted posts, you're able to see how many people it's reached, but that doesn't really tell you an awful lot.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. So, as I said at the beginning, we have recorded the session. We will send out copies of slides and the recording as well. And if you want to, we'll be on YouTube as well. Obviously, scan the QR code and that will book you in with Sharice. And Sharice will go through things and she can answer all of your questions one-to-one and have a look at what's actually happening in your town. And Sharice was saying earlier about familiarity of doing videos. So I think this is the 6th webinar we've done now. Some of you all know our office is in Derby, so I walked into the office in Derby. New member of the team said, "Hi Steve, nice to meet you." And I was like, I don't think we've been introduced yet. And that was from somebody watching the webinars that we do. So yeah, you never know who's watching, where they are, who they are, when they'll meet you. But it is a good way of sort of breaking the ice and just sort of raising that sort of profile. So anything else you wanted to add, Sharice?
Well, so just before we finish, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking about Steve, you'll know, with website side of things, like a lot of people will be saying to you, or I would imagine this stat's right, but most people will be saying to you that how do I get my website in front of more people? And then on the website, they're putting their rewards, they're putting their success stories, they're putting about us stories on the page, or they're putting meet the team, area guides. There's various different things that you're putting on the website. That sometimes that doesn't follow through to social media. Why should social media be any different to your website? You do the same thing in your office. You have the team there to be able to provide this advice. You've got your awards on display. You've got your property listings in the front window. Social media shouldn't be any different to that. It should just be a website that will be constantly changing for you.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think if people aren't sure what to post, I mean, obviously we can help them with that. There's other firms out there that do videography. I mean, the chap who recorded the video of us promoting this, Ben from Digital Sparks, does all of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
But if you said, what's the most common questions that people have asked me this week? Do a video on that. Or what's the common misconception about what's happening in the property market? Might do a social post. Maybe that's an infographic. Maybe it's another video. And yeah, once you've done 3 or 4 videos, you get to the point of going, actually, I feel quite comfortable doing it now. I've got a microphone. You get on, you get it done. And there's loads of software out there to sort of clip them up quite quickly. So yeah, hopefully just think of all of those common questions. What are people asking you? What are you talking about on your valuations? And those are loads of great content ideas. And obviously we can help you as well. So yeah, if anyone's not sure, book a meeting with Charisse, and she'll give you a load of ideas and a load of help and advice, and we can take care of it for you if you decide it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Okay, I'll just give it a moment just in case anybody else wants to pop anything in the chat or the Q&A, but I think we've managed to go just about an hour. Strange. We started this thinking, will we have enough to talk about? And there we are, absolutely filling that hour to the last
me.
couple of seconds.
If anybody knows me, Steve, they know I'm a talker, so.
Okay, great. Well, I think that is probably it for now. So thanks everyone for joining. I appreciate, obviously you've all got busy days and lots of things to do and probably appointments to rush off to. So we will share this around later, and we'll be doing another webinar again next month. So we'll drop you out the invites for that soon. And Charisse, thanks so much for today. That's been really, really interesting. Lots of good things to learn, and probably for some people, a few reminders of, oh, actually, we used to do that and it worked. Ought to get on and do that again.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.